All right, welcome everybody to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Emily Gulmer, and I'm excited to bring you another episode of the Aspie Bridge Show with Suzanne Plumley. We are here every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central, and we'd love to have everybody as a guest. So if you're interested, please connect with us. But so this is so I'm going to pass it over to Suzanne to kick us off and introduce our guest today.
All right. Thank you, Emily, and welcome everybody. You're back in my bedroom. It's another hot July in Texas, so apparently we're not out at the bridge today, but that doesn't mean that I'm not here helping you to go into the bridge. It just means we're cooling off today. But anyway, with all the awesome people who are out in this world, who are Aspie, who are telling you what the traits of autism are, such as Paul Micallef in Australia and Samantha Stein in the Netherlands, Sarah Hendricks in the UK, Temple Grandin here in the US, as well as many, many other wonderful Aspies. You don't need another Aspie woman telling you what autism is. The mission of the Aspie Bridge is to connect wonderful guests like Jane, who I have, and all the others who have come before her, and all the ones that are coming after her. She is a bridge builder, which means that she is a part of society that says, I love your mission. I'm here to help you, to help the Aspie women feel confident to go back into society. I had a friend today say that she was giving up on society. And I'm like, no, no, no. There are wonderful people like Jane and so many others. Unfortunately, you dealt with some members of society that may not be as well versed in what autism is or what Aspie people are able to do. And I think that that's a shame that we don't have more people like Jane here to help us. Now, for some reason, Jane has jumped off my screen. So,
But can you hear? Oh, here I am.
there you are. All right, wonderful. So Jane did not go anywhere. She is right here with us. Now, before I get into introducing Jane to you, let me tell you that this week's topic is a shift from last week's wonderful topic on conscious eating, because we know that so much of our money goes into buying the foods that we put into our stomachs to make sure that we stay healthy. But let's back it up one step. Where does that money come from to buy the groceries? Well, Jane and I are here with the emotional side of money. And we all know that money isn't just about going to the bank and asking them to help us with the budget. There's a lot more involved in that. There's a lot of things that we need to take into consideration versus just getting that paycheck and running to the grocery store, because it doesn't always make it to the grocery store. And that's when we run into some emotional problems. Sometimes it's legitimate reasons, such as we need to get gas to get to the grocery store. We'll handle that. Sometimes it's a matter of you kind of spent it already in your bills, and that's what we call robbing Peter to pay Paul. And we're going to explain that more. We Aspies are known to have some challenges with money, which is why I'm spending an awful lot of time with it. Lynn came several months ago to help me, to help you figure out what to do with that paycheck. And we still have some of the habits that sneak in. Even though Lynn and I really expressed well how to handle it, we have that emotional side of us that jumps in and says, no, I want your money here. And that is why Jane and I are here today to discuss it. Jane, would you like to tell us about yourself and why you wanted to become part of the Aspie Bridge Builders?
Well, Suzanne, I'm really happy to be here. For all of you, my name is Jane Fairchild. And hearing about the Aspie challenges through Suzanne, it just got into my heart. And and especially the Aspie woman. All of us as women, I think, feel like, well, we might have our challenges with what we call breaking the glass ceiling, where men have walked in business, entrepreneurship, whatever it is. But then knowing that you all have your special challenge, an extra challenge, but yet she made me aware of the gifts that you have as well. So, that's why I'm here, because Suzanne really gave me a full view of the positives and the challenges that you come into on a regular basis. And she's right. You can't give up. We can't throw in the towel, but we can support each other. And that's what I'm here for. I spent 25 years as a mortgage advisor, helping to approve mortgage loans for people like you. And there's a very definite science to it. It's not an art, it's a science. There's math and science to it. And it all has to make sense. And that's what I want to do today, is help you to feel maybe that much closer to getting the American dream for you. So I think that's why we're here, right, Suzanne?
Absolutely, Jane. And as I said, everyone, Jane is my financial coach. She is the one that I'm going to introduce you to if you say, I just can't make my paycheck go everywhere it needs to go. And Jane is going to be there with me. We're going to work together to say, here are the priorities. Here's where you have a little extra spending money. And here's how we might suggest you set up some accounts to safeguard your money. So let's get into expressing some of the emotional spending habits we may get that are not so wonderful. And well, I'm going to start to explain them. I'm going to let Jane go into a little bit more depth, because I think if you hear it from both of us, you're going to find out that we're on the same page. We just express it differently. So when you go and you want to ask her a question, and you can connect with us here on YouTube, but there's also the Aspie Bridge page on Facebook, where you can also find her picture and her bio and put a question right under there. And that's going to get to her even faster than putting a comment right here in YouTube. Now, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you can get more help in the future. And you can still comment here. But if you want to ask a specific question, go to the Aspie Bridge page on Facebook. It's a group, and we will welcome you in. Everybody's welcome, providing that they mind their manners. You know me. But anyway, let's get going. All right. The first one, robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's kind of like what I was talking earlier, where you had to go grocery shopping. And then all of a sudden the gas tank is on empty. And then you remember the hamburger at Wendy's you had last night. Now, you kind of robbed from your gas and your grocery bill to get that hamburger. Is it wrong? No, it's just an emotional spending that maybe you might have wanted to think about first before you went to Wendy's. It could be anything. I'm just using Wendy's because it's a small expenditure. It doesn't really hurt that much if I just get a hamburger, right? What do you think, Jane?
Well, yeah. I mean, robbing Peter to pay Paul is also known as shooting yourself in the foot. And, these days, if you're trying to, we all know that there's a great value in saving. And maybe we're not able to save as much when it comes to things like housing and trying to qualify, or even just trying to, whether it's deciding, do I rent or do I own? You have to have so much money available to you through your savings, or even gift money is allowable through a friend or a family member. Okay. But getting back to the robbing Peter to pay Paul, you still have to save. You still have to show your ability to have control over your spending. And all of us have that emotional spending within us that we do. We feel bad. Some of us maybe eat too much or eat too many potato chips, or we go out and buy something for ourselves. And it's just getting in touch with the emotions and not letting it gain control. I think it's that simple.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Lynn and I, when Lynn was on back when we were talking about what to do with your paycheck, Lynn had a great idea of putting it into different envelopes. And for the single woman, I highly recommend that idea. Some people have even seen it online called envelopes, where you can actually put money into an app on your computer to start saving money. And if you're not into technology, that or able to do it, it's a little harder. Lynn likes the idea of buckets, actual real live buckets, or you can actually take regular envelopes and put your money in there. And when you go to Wendy and there's $1 there, well, guess what? You don't want to take that dollar, and the dollar won't go very far, but you certainly don't want to take a little bit of money from the gas money to put toward Wendy's, or then you're taking money from the groceries to pay the gas, to pay the, and it's just a snowball if you're not careful. So you really want to be careful that the money that you put aside is meant for that reason, and you're not going into another envelope or another bucket to borrow to pay for something else that might be a luxury. And we're going to say, even a hamburger, a simple hamburger at Wendy's, when you know you need gas and you know you need groceries, is still robbing Peter to pay Paul. Let's go on to the next one because it's very, very relatable. Retail therapy. I know you just had a hard day. The boss was getting down on you because he wanted you to change things up, or you were a bit more emotional, or whatever. Your day was hard, and you're like, oh, it's Friday. I just want to go shopping. Well, again, if you don't have the money in the envelope to go shopping, it's very difficult to do that. Now, let's say you do have about $25 in that envelope marked free spending. Okay? Try and think of something that you would like that would make you feel better, whether it's going out to eat. Sometimes I like to go get Chinese when I've had a hard day. Or it might be a craft item, or it might be another thing that is part of your passion. Well, think about what one item, not a whole day expenditure. If you're into clothing, find a nice shirt, whatever it is, whatever brings you back to being peaceful. We're not saying don't go. We're not saying don't go. There are times when you have worked hard, and that's why a spending account is important. But we're going to tell you about that in a moment. But don't go for a whole day of shopping, retail shopping. Just go find that one item. It will bring you peace. It will bring you happiness. It will get you back to center. But if you only budgeted $25, don't buy a $75 outfit. You're right back to the robbing Peter to pay Paul again, don't you? What do you like to do, Jane, when you've just had a hard day and you just want to go find one thing that makes you feel better?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because if you saw my closet, you'd say, oh, yeah, she takes part in retail therapy. Because I do. I do. There's a couple of notes on this. One, I don't feel it's necessary in 2024 to go to the Macy's of the world for shopping, even Target. Why don't you try the local thrift store? There's consignment stores popping up all over. You could get 2 or 3 shirts for the price of a brand new one. Not to mention, there are many people like myself. Maybe you go up and down on the scale, and maybe you stay up instead of down. And I'll look in my closet and say, well, here are some clothes that still have some tags on them from a couple years ago, because I did think I was going to lose that weight and I hadn't. I'm going to bring that to the thrift store, to the consignment store. And so you can find so much there.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, if you are thinking about wanting to buy a home someday, every bank, every lender is going to look at your spending. They're going to look at your credit card debt. They're going to look to see. They do like to see 2 months of bank statements. They're going to look for the activity, what's coming in, what's going out. So just keep that in mind. I mean, yes, everyone maybe can think, I'm going to rent forever. That's just the way it is. Well, it doesn't have to be the way it is. There are ways, there are special programs for many different ones of us. If you were in the military, I don't know, Suzanne, how many people do you think, how many Aspies do you think percentage-wise would be in the military?
Actually, that's an interesting question, Jane, because I ran into a corporal at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and he said, it never used to be this way, but the numbers are climbing because they're rule followers. They can like the routine and everything. So he said, where it used to be maybe 10%, it's growing to 25% now.
Well, yeah, I kind of thought so, because I've been hearing a little bit more about that too. And I have worked with a few people in the Aspie community, and they got a house. They qualified for a house and they bought a house.
Mm-hmm.
There is if you were or are still in the military, and you're honorably discharged, you can get a loan with zero money down.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, there's not another program like the VA loan, the Veterans Administration loan. So you still are going to have closing costs, that you're going to have to, but they're just, there's ways around things, and there is this wonderful program. So for those of you who are military or know someone who's in the military who wants to buy a home, and they're challenged with being in that small population of Aspies, well, step right up and you can get yours.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that I want to tell people too, but that brought up the idea that don't be afraid to go and ask questions, ask for a loan. What do I qualify for? But as Jane also said, if you're doing an awful lot of spending and not enough bringing the income in and letting it grow, you are going to have a harder time qualifying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so think about what your end goal is. What would you love to have? I have a board over by my kitchen on my refrigerator that says I would love to buy a canoe, and I would love to buy an exercise bike, an electric bike. And I know that this has been there for a while, and it will get bought. But if you don't have a goal of what you're saving for, retail therapy is going to get you every time, whether it's food or whether it's going clothes shopping or passion shopping is what I call it. For me, it's Michael's and Hobby Lobby. And sometimes you have to say to yourself, that's a dangerous place. I can't go there right now because I would love to buy XYZ. Sometimes we just have to cut ourselves off. Because if we know it's a trigger or a temptation, and that brings me back to the grocery shopping. Here's an interesting tip. Did you know that at many of the grocery shops now, that pickup order is your best friend? Not because you can't go and walk the stores, although I don't like to. I don't like the fact that people walk up and down the aisles without any direction, but that's beside the point. But no, you can save your money for groceries a lot smarter by going onto your app and putting in the groceries you want, and you can take them out until you get to that budget line. I'm only spending $50 on groceries or whatever the amount is. And if you find yourself adding things to your app, you can go back down again, which is a lot less than going to the grocery store or to the market and saying to the cashier, "Oh, I can't buy these things." And then you get that dirty look. Oh, now they have to put it away. Instead, pull out your phone, create an order based on your budget of what you want to spend for groceries that week. Go pick it up, done. It's been one of my biggest joys in life is to pull up to that pickup station. They load it, they shopped it, they did everything, and I stuck to a budget. Just a tip. Okay, let's move on. Jane, you and I were laughing about this one. The DDD of life. It comes perfectly right off of the grocery stores. Okay. So you've just gone grocery shopping. You've picked up your grocery shopping order from Walmart or wherever it is. You get it home, you get it unloaded, and you're like, I'm too tired to cook. Let's order DoorDash. Well, it kind of is not the best way to utilize your money because you did just go grocery shopping. Now, what you want to probably do is think about when you're grocery shopping, what meal can I make easy tonight? Those, I think they're called Voila, Voila, are wonderful. They're one pot meals. Throw that in so that you're not tempted to say, get on your phone and say, DoorDash. What do you think, Jane? Go ahead, add to our order.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think if you can think of it this way, because I know this is what helps me. If and Suzanne, you were talking about having goals. Well, goals, another way of looking at goals is what we're saying is, what are my habits? Because it's our habits that define how we go throughout our day.
Mm-hmm.
It takes 20 to 30 days to instill and to get that habit to where, wait a minute, this is me now. It's not, it's a good habit. I've thought about this, and I know I'm starting to really be able to decipher, what's emotional spending and what's going to get me where I want to be. And with the goals that I want, well, then you have to have the habits to back up and to take part in those goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So think about forming the healthy habits. Put it on a piece of paper. Get that calendar out and say, this is the habit that I want to instill. And it's maybe no DoorDash for a month. And I'm going to cook my own meals. Or I'm going to bring my lunch to work. Whatever the case might be. And give yourself a gold star. Check off that you did it that day. Give yourself a gold star and watch them add up.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, it's like, door what? Oh, DoorDash. Yeah, I've heard of DoorDash. Yeah, I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, obviously we're also talking about Uber Eats and any delivery service. We're not picking on DoorDash. It's just was
No.
to think of the DDD dilemma, the D3 dilemma.
Absolutely.
And it just makes us conscious about I could go back into robbing Peter to pay Paul again. Okay, I don't feel like cooking. And this is why we call it the emotional side of money. I don't feel like cooking tonight. It's just easier to order a pizza. Well, the money for the pizza comes from somewhere. You just spent it on groceries. So are you
Right.
going to rob from another food envelope to get there? Now, one treat every 2 weeks. I like to say when I'm out of groceries, before I get to the grocery store, maybe I can take X amount of groceries, money, and put it there. If you've earned enough. If you haven't used in other areas of retail therapy, that is, you can maybe say, okay, well, I am literally out of food right now. That's the time for DoorDash. That is the time that you can say, well, I'm not going grocery shopping right now. So maybe the pizza will be okay. It's just
Mhm.
we're trying to get you to realize that just because you're tired doesn't mean that you should use that money freely to get order in. Now, Jane, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about when you're a couple and you like to think about the way that you two are sharing money because now you're a united front. You're not no longer a single person. Now, it can be as little as going to McDonald's, or it can be as big as buying that house that you two really want. The concept is the same. But what I really want to talk to you about, and this came up in my own personal experience, is equal versus fair. Now, you can have both, providing it's not dollar amount, it's percentage amount. And so
Mhm.
what I like to say is you have spouse A who makes between 15 and 1800 a month. You have spouse B that makes 500 a month. Now if you say that we're going to split it down the middle, that it means that spouse B is taking their entire amount and putting it toward the $1,000 rent or the $1,000 a month mortgage. And spouse, one spouse is taking their entire amount and the other spouse is taking the equal amount, 500, but they still have $1,000 left to spend.
Right.
However, let's say, and Jane's going to be really good on the money, on the mortgage aspect of it. Let's flip that around and take percentages. Okay, let's just say you want to get, and I'm going to shift the numbers a little bit here because we're going to say that one spouse has $1,000, the other spouse has $3,000 a month, just to make it a little bit easier for you to understand. Now, if you go by percentage, 50%. Well, let me ask you, Jane, what is the percentage amount that the banks say is appropriate to your income level? Because
Right.
that might be better to think about right there. And let me go there because we want to start with the biggest expenditure you have, which is probably going to be the house. And
Always.
that has to be the first thing you think about every month, not the retail therapy outfit that you want to buy for the wedding next week. You got to start with the big one. So, what is the recommended in
Mm-hmm.
percentage rate of income?
Right. Yeah. No. And that's really getting to the meat of things because every lender in the United States, it doesn't matter if you're in Texas or New York or Michigan or New Hampshire, you are going to have that same percentage that the bank is looking for. And here's what it is. If you can keep the numbers 2836 in mind, 2836, what does that mean? Your housing payment should not exceed 28% of your gross income.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're making, if we have a couple two parties. The bank doesn't care if the income together is $4,000. It doesn't matter. Put it together. They also say we're going to have you put your debts together too, and that's where the 36 comes from, and I'll get to that in a minute. So it's combined. Banks care about, are you in control of your finances? What are you paying now for rent or housing, whatever it is? What is your ability? But that percentage, 28% of your gross income, gross meaning before taxes are taken out, you should not exceed that in your housing. So roughly on 4,000, you're looking at, maybe.
Let's take it, like, if you don't mind my interjecting this, and because we know that you're going to need about 3% emergency, lawn mowing, maybe an extra high electric bill or such. Don't bring it right up to the 28%. Give yourself a cushion.
Well, you know what? But the banks, the 28% is considered a cushion. It's got a built-in cushion.
Good to know. Oh, good to know.
Absolutely. I mean, if anything, there are federal programs that give buyers, a little bit more leeway than the 2830. The 2836 is saying, this is it. When other programs like the VA loan allows you to have more debt or have less income. Now, is that good or bad? Well, it's neither. It depends on each person. So know that lenders are really they're not being generous with the 2836. They're saying, this is the top, and you will have room for expenditures. It's absolutely built in there. So so 28% of your monthly rent, even your monthly rent, let alone you can use that with rent, should not exceed 28% of your gross income. And then the 36% is your income. Your housing payment should not exceed 36% of your debt. It's the debt to income ratio. So housing and debt, 36%. And again, there's a lot of leeway there that you're still left with enough money to spend, to go on maybe a vacation, to have a little retail therapy and so on. So in round numbers, if you're bringing in, you're a couple and you're bringing in $4,000 in a gross, that's before taxes are taken out, then you can afford like $1,300 or roughly around there, depending on. Well, then there's also depending on your credit score, and that's another discussion.
We're going to get down to that too on the very last one, but I didn't want to depress anyone just yet.
Okay.
That's all right. And we're going to leave that in their minds to process before they go out and start looking at houses, just to be sure. But what I was trying to get at is, as I say, we established that person A, whether it's you're married or just sharing expenses, person A has $1,000 a month. Person B has $3,000 a month. So if let's just say 28%, we'll round it down to, we'll round it to 30%. So person A that has 1,000 should be doing no more than $300 of their amount.
Absolutely.
No more than 300. And because they still need some money too to pay other bills.
Yeah.
And person B, that 3,000, they should be doing more than 1,000. That's what we call percentage sharing.
Right.
Now, if it's a $4,000, a $1,300 mortgage, you divide that in half. That takes person A who makes $1,000 up to paying $650. While person B who makes the $3,000, they're only paying $650 of that $3,000. Is that fair?
Right.
No, you don't want to split it up by dollar amount. You want to split it up by percentage amount. And that's the important thing right there is to consider. Now, what I like to tell Aspie women, because I ran into this problem, is consider talking to your spouse or your partner. Hey, it would make me feel better if we got a third account. My account, your account, our account. This way, what's happening is that, okay, the mortgage is due. We each take our percentage amounts and we deposit into the third account. Now there's a matter of, the trust is important to have between the two of you, but at the same time, you're not robbing from each other to pay for your own personal happiness. The third account can save a lot of angst between the two of you. Let's go back to the idea of what this is all about, emotional side of money. If one of you is paying more than you can really afford and the other one is paying not that much because you divide it by dollars, you can have some issues in your family.
Yeah.
And that's not good. That's not good. So agree to your partner, hey, I'm happy to live with you on this agreement that we have a third account where we put the money in to pay for our joint bills. And I think that will cut down on a lot of pain because he might like to go and do one thing for the weekend and you might want to go get your hair done. And to have to ask permission every time you take money out of the joint account can be very frustrating. And I'll tell you, women will not do it. They won't ask for money. But the guy will still go golfing. The guy will still go to the football stadium for the big pro game. The guy will still do it. Or I wasn't going to go into genders. Let's just back that up and say partner A may still do it. While partner B, who usually makes less money, will be afraid to. But if you have your own accounts, you're no longer having to have that emotional angst of asking for money. Let's go on. We kind of already talked about the mortgages and rents, which is good. So we kind of put that out of order, but that was important. How to figure out what's fair, as I was talking about, the third account where, okay, the rent is due on Friday. You're getting a paycheck Friday. I'm getting a paycheck Friday. We'll go to the bank together, get the money in. Now that money is coming out of an account where neither one of you have an emotional tie to it because you have to live somewhere.
Right.
And now it's a collective, but it's not your piggy bank. Your own personal account is your own personal account. And you have a right to it, ladies and gentlemen. Whoever is partner A and partner B. You might want to establish where the percentages lie. How to do positive retail therapy. We're talking about have that one item that you've been wanting. Figure out what the amount is that you can afford for retail therapy for that Saturday morning. I can only spend $15. Okay, what can I get for $15 that will bring peace back to my heart and relax me and will be something that I'm treating myself after a great week of going to work every week, of showing up, of doing whatever your responsibilities are and following through with them, or it can go the other way. How can I bring myself back to a place of calm by buying one item at that amount of money or less? You don't have to you don't have to spend the $15, but I wouldn't spend 20 if you've only allowed 15.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that, Jane? Positive retail therapy.
Yes. No, I without a doubt. And this is something that all of us need to be getting in on what you're talking about. You're not just talking to the Aspie person, you're
No.
talking to every person within an earshot, including myself and yourself, because, we have our trials in life, we have our headaches, and we get triggered.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea of when you're living, partners, whatever the partnership is, if you're living under the same roof, every lender is saying it has to be fair. Every lender is looking at what's your income and debt, what's your income level and debt. And they're not saying, oh, well, yeah, we see that person B should be putting in as much income percentage as the other. It's like, no, no. So, yeah, no need to get caught up on that.
Yeah, it's important that you both sit down before deciding to move in together
Yes.
and understanding each other's money philosophies. I hate
Yes.
to say it. I hate to say it. But if you don't have a solid money or in common money theory, it might not be the best fit. Yes, you may be in love right now, but you really need to get to a point where money is not a hard topic to discuss.
Right. And if it is, then you're going to choke yourself on it. You're going to avoid talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it gets back to shooting yourself in the foot when you ought not to be. It doesn't have to be such a hot topic, because there's no we bring such value to overvalue to money that it's the end all and be all. And if you don't make enough, then you're not enough.
Oh, I
Don't
hate
even
that
go there.
too.
Don't even go there.
No.
You are enough with who you are. And whatever, hopefully, I know in the schools, I have young grandkids, and they are teaching them about you are enough, and they're teaching them about money as well, and how to have a handle on it, and emotions, and how do you like yourself enough. And it's like things that when I was in elementary school and high school was rarely talked about.
Oh, I'm a little bit younger than you are, but no, it didn't go in the 80s either. I mean,
Right,
I
right.
think it's not until you started school in at least in 2000 did it even come up as a concept of our emotional health is as important as our financial health as our physical health. I
our
mean,
emotional our emotional health dictates our financial health. You can't be, if you are feeling in every direction, if you're feeling stress everywhere, if you're feeling sadness, if you're, under the gun, under the blanket of all this emotion, and maybe you're with a partner who doesn't make you feel any better, and it's like, oh my goodness, so how are you ever gonna love your life? How are you ever gonna love where you live and what you drive, and how you gonna love your everyday? You got to get that in order. And the money kind of, well, Suzanne and I, we do work on our self-development. We just do. It's kind of what we like to do, right, Suzanne?
exactly. Yeah.
Because we realize how important it is. How can I get myself balanced? Instead of
Hmm.
being like this, how can I get like this?
Exactly.
Well,
We call that whole spectrum health. It's not just about
mhm,
there are four categories. And Mark Maynard, when he was on way back with What Would I Love, he and I talked about all four quadrants. You can't be rich in one and greatly in debt in another. It just doesn't work. You got to be balanced in all four of those categories in order for you to feel like, oh, I really do have a good life. It's not perfect. We're not saying it's perfect.
No.
You are a person in progress, and you wouldn't be here if you were perfect. I can tell you right now, we all have lessons to learn.
You'd be writing your book or either published your book, and but it's like, no, we're all, well, we're pretty ordinary. What sets us apart is, and makes us extraordinary, I think, is what we do with who we are, how we express that. How do I feel about myself today? One, do I know myself? And two, if I know myself, am I celebrating myself? Not through retail therapy, but just because maybe, here's what I found. I don't need the retail therapy as much. I don't need to drive the best car. I don't need to live in the best neighborhood, because I know who I am, and I know what I want, and I live within the confines. And it's not even, there's nothing, it's not like living in a box when I say confines. I'm talking about like just knowing your limitations, but knowing like, this is what I like about me. And when you like about you, then you can spread it around. There's plenty to go around. And then you find the job you like, and everything gets connected. And before you know it, it's like, wow, like it's like a domino effect. And then it's like, wow, I love my life.
Yeah. Oh, they're all interconnected. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the big thing. It's all interconnected. You can't just have a relationship and that without having money. You can't have a business without having some form of healthy relationships. You can't have time and money freedom if you don't have the money to pay for the freedom. I mean, they're all interconnected. And you could have freedom, but you could be sick. So you got to think about your health and your health. So I mean, they're all interconnected. You can't have
Yes,
one without the other. Well,
absolutely.
let's just talk for a moment, Jane, on how. Here's a tip, and this is going to help you keep your money for your gasoline going a lot smarter. And I've really picked this habit, really seriously in the last couple of months because I'm going in a different direction in my life. And it is, I go out once, I get everything I need, everything that I budgeted, and I go home. I don't go out for afternoon here. I don't go out for evening there. I try and group my errands together in such a way that I'm going to have the best gasoline consumption. Now, I used to drive a car where I could get away with $25 in the gas tank. Well, now I have to think about money again. It's going to take $40 in the gas tank. Well, let's see. I'm going down to see my girlfriend that's an hour away. Well, that has to be factored into your emotional money. Yes, you do need to go see your friends. And if they live an hour away, you have to say that that's an expenditure that I had this week. I can't run out of gas halfway there or halfway home. But it's important. This goes back to the everything's interconnected. I need to think about how much gasoline, which means that if I'm planning a trip on Saturday to go see some friends an hour away, I can't be having DoorDash Monday and Tuesday or doing retail therapy on Wednesday if I know that all that money needs to go into my gas tank.
Right.
And this is what we were talking about at the very beginning with robbing Peter to pay Paul. You need to sit down at the beginning of the week and say, what do I have planned? And what money do I have to utilize? And start to figure out which envelope you need to put that money into. Is rent due? Oh no, rent's not due until after my next paycheck. I'm okay. That's checked off. I even have a cute little I don't know if you can see it. What's due now?
Great.
It is my little bulletin board that I have where with little pieces of colored index paper, depending on the type of expense it is. And when I pay a bill, I move it on to the next month. So this way I can visually see what bills are still remaining. I have on there the amount and the day they're due. So I can quickly look over at my little calendar and say, oh, we're coming on the week of the 20th through the 23rd, let's just say. Oh, these 3 bills need to be paid this week. When's my next paycheck? Okay. So you have to do a little mathematical. Get yourself another index card and say, these are the bills due this month. This is what I have available. That means, okay, if I need to go to retail therapy, might have to wait on that for a week.
Yeah, and you know what? You're. I think what we're really saying here today is, I think the question is, do you know how to be good to yourself, or do you have trouble getting out of your own way, or do you sabotage yourself with, oh, I'm going to go and have a knee-jerk reaction and spend a little bit too much than I should? And then whatever it is that you spent too much on, you don't even enjoy it because you feel bad. You feel bad about yourself and everything else. So always keep in mind, am I treating myself well? And if I'm not, I think I need to do better.
Exactly. Oh, Jane, that's perfect. It kind of leads us into this very last topic that we have today. And that is the emotional cost of using credit or getting loans. Yes, I don't know about you, Jane, but every so often I get a check in the mail that says, just cash this check.
Yeah.
Just cash this check. I know you need extra money. Or J.W. Wentworth says, you can get money. Or the place down the street that says, come get cash. We'll take it off of your next paycheck. Or this or that. Be very careful. That money's not free. Unless it says grant at the top, you are paying that money back.
Right.
You are paying that money back. So even if you were to say to yourself, well, the only time you should be really using a credit is if you have that emergency. Mom's not feeling well. I do need to take a trip down to see her, but I haven't allowed enough money in my account to get gasoline. That should be the only time that you're really using credit, is if you have that emergency. It's not play money, it's emergency credit. If you think of it, your credit cards as emergency versus I ran out of money this month, so I'll just put it on my credit card. Well, what happens is that's the snowball. That's a snowball. Because now the next time you get a paycheck, now you're going to take a portion of that paycheck to pay for the fun you had on the credit card the last month.
Always doing catch up.
Yeah, and there's this app called Earnin. Now, let me just say, in defense of this app called Earnin, let's say you get a paycheck every other week. What this app does, and if you're careful with it, it's okay. Let's say on Friday of the middle month, you have a bill coming up 2 days before the next bill is due. As long as you figure out what that exact amount is due to cover that before your next paycheck comes, because I know I've heard a lot of my friends say, oh, I have to pay this bill, but payday is not till Friday. Well, I will tell them that Earnin is an app that allows you to get a little money early to make sure that you're not getting the late fee on that bill, and then it will come out 2 days later off of your paycheck automatically. You don't have to pay that because they're going to take it automatically. And that's not a bad way to loan yourself some money to pay a bill.
Mm-hmm. And
But
Suzanne, how do you spell that?
EARNIN.
Earn in. Okay, great.
And it's a phone app. And as I say, if you're one of the lucky ones that does get paid every Friday, don't use it. You don't need it. You don't need it to buy the pizza. You don't need it to buy the outfit unless you have to go to a funeral or something. But I would hope you already have that. You don't need it unless it's an emergency. And sometimes we have things that do creep in. But try and keep it under $100.
Right.
And that is what we call emotional spending, the emotional side of money. Being aware of what we have before we spend it, not after it's spent.
Yes.
Any final words, Jane?
Well, yes, I do. I just want to say, Suzanne, well, thank you for having me here. And thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for your heart that's the size of Texas. I love being your friend. I love being your comrade. You know, we're kind of we've been together like in a business sense. We've been together in a friend sense, in a sisterly sense, and it's just so great you do what you do. And if I can help anybody with questions about, well, and let me just say this to you: don't ever be afraid to go to maybe the bank that you have your money in or have your checking in. Maybe you have it direct deposited. Go there, find out, educate yourself, and education really is power. So empower yourself, do it. You'll be so glad you did. And everybody wants us all to win. You know, there are too many good people in the world, and we're all a part of it. So thank you for being you, Suzanne.
Thank you. I was trying to think of when we met. I think we've known each other for about 3 years now.
Yeah,
And it's been a very special friendship. And
absolutely.
I'm so appreciative of. And the more we have these common activities together, the more fun we have.
Oh,
and that's what the world is all about, is having people you can rely on, people that will support you, have your back. Sometimes it's you for them, sometimes it's them for you. But I have to say, of all the things, you want to make sure that you have people in your life you can trust. And if you don't have those people, I'm the person you come to at the bridge. Imagine the bridge is behind me. I'm the person you come to that says, you know, I just feel stuck. My friendships, my money, my cooking, whatever it is, I've created all these categories based on my needs because I said, wait, what? You want me to get Social Security income and Social Security disability because I'm autistic? I have gifts. I just need people to believe in me. And that's the same thing with you. And that's why I brought on people like Jane and everybody else you've seen. They do have your back. Society is not a bad place. There are some bad people in society, but society is not the bad place. It's the individual people who are running on ego, not on heart. And that's the message I want to leave you with right now, is lead with your heart, not with your ego. And next week, Miriam is coming back. So if you do find you have those credit card debts, those large loans, if you've been using those checks that they so happily send to you, Miriam is going to be here to help you understand how to dig yourself out of debt so you can get back to where Jane and I are talking about how to emotionally use your money so you don't get into that again. But for now, I want to say thank you for coming to the Aspie Bridge, and I look forward to seeing you next week.